Hello and very warm welcome to the next chapter in our video course. I would like to tell you a little bit more about the consulting interview process in total and its main part. So it's the bone and meats of this video course, and I'm extremely excited to get it started. So let's go. Well, what will you learn in this chapter? There are several steps in the application processing consulting that you will need to undergo through, and I will explain them very briefly to you in this quick video. And then in the following videos, we will also get to know better about the basics of the personal fit, behavioral part of the interview, and what kind of the questions to ask to the interviewer at the very end of the interview. Of course, you will have a better understanding of how to crack a case. You will also understand what are the most typical mistakes that 90% of the candidates are making, which causes their rejection, why they're not getting the offers, and you will learn on how to avoid them. And further, we will be giving you even more tips and tricks from our experts on how to solve consistently all the interviews, all the cases, how to answer all the questions, and how to be at your best shape during the interview day and convert it actually to an offer. So let us start with the first step. There are few steps in the application process in consulting which every candidate needs to undergo. Number one, apply with your CV and the cover letter. Number two, pass through the test with some of the companies. Number three, pass through the pre-screening HR call also with some of the companies, and then pass through the different interview rounds. The first step, apply with your CV and cover letter. I hope you have watched the previous chapter and now you have already polished your CV and the cover letter. If you still have any questions, please either rewatch the videos or get in touch with our client managers, and if needed, schedule a session with our experts in order to review your revised CV and cover letter documents because they are really important to apply. And then after you have applied, roughly 1/3 of the applicants will be invited to pass the tests. And these tests vary for different companies. So for example, McKinsey has recently introduced imbalance test. BCG still uses PST test in some of the offices. Roland Berger is using logical, numerical, and verbal kind of the tests. In one of the videos, I will give you the deep dives and explain you some useful links on how you could train yourself for these kind of the tests, give you the tutorials, as well as identify how you can train your numerical skills and bring them up to the standard to pass those tests. And yeah, the pre-screening HR call, for example, Kearney is doing this. You might be, if you are invited to Kearney, you might be having before your interview rounds 15 minutes pre-screening call to check your background, your motivation, etc. So this is like a part of the personal fit assessment conducted by Kearney HR during the process. And then if you pass through the first three steps, then you're lucky enough to be invited to the actual interviews. And you need to get ready to pass 6 to 8 interviews in total, equally spread between 2 rounds. So in the first round, you will be having, depending on the company, 2 to 4 interviews. And then later on, you will be having like 1/3 of the best candidates will also pass to the final interview rounds where they have another 2 to 4 interviews. So roughly 6 to 8 interviews in total are dividing you between now and receiving the offer. And exactly this chapter and these instructions, if you implement them, will help you to make it to the bar and to receive your job offer. Now, let's talk about the structure of every interview in more details. Each interview lasts for 45 to 60 minutes and consists of the 3 key parts. The number 1 is the personal fit and behavioral part of the interview. Number 2 is the case part, and number 3 are your questions to the interviewer. Typically, personal fit part takes, I would say, 15 to maximum 30 minutes in your first interview round and in your first interviews. While then the case part is taking maybe 10 to 15 minutes in your first interview round. And then you have 5 to 7 minutes at the end of the interview to still ask your own questions to the interviewer. But then, as you proceed with the interviews, the proportion is changing. So personal feed is becoming shorter. It reduces to 15 minutes, to 10 minutes, and then maybe even just to 5 minutes. And the case part is expanding, going up from 10, 15 minutes to 20, sometimes even 25 or even to 30 minutes. Or in some of the cases, the case part could be taking the entire part of the interview. And then again, questions to the interviewer remain stable. So now that we have learned some overview, in the following videos, I would like to give you the deep dives into each part of the interview process, into the personal feed part, into behavioral part, into the case part, as well as into the questions to the interviewer. So, are you excited? Then let's continue the journey and see you in the next video.